Was the intro too much? Overboard? Possibly, but you'll get the point of why I'm doing this. It kind of sets the tone here. Now, the idea from this actually came from watching the gameplay trailers. Whenever you watch gameplay trailers from developers or publishers, do you ever notice that they never run anywhere? They never sprint anywhere. They're always just walking everywhere, and it annoyed the crap out of me. I'm like, you know what, when I see a gameplay trailer, make it intense. Make it so that he's running all over the place. Make it so that, you know, we can see him running and sliding and doing all sorts of crazy stuff in the game. But it seems that, like, when we see these promotional or, you know, like teaser trailers, like, of gameplay, they're always walking everywhere. Do you ever notice that? Do you ever notice when you're watching it and they just seem to walk around shooting this, shooting that, and you're like, what the heck? It always bothered me. So I thought, you know what, I'm gonna do a game series or a video series where that's all I do. I just walk around very calmly shooting people. And I'll tell you, as long as you know the maps and you have a half-decent headset, like to sound whore, the game style is actually a lot of fun. It's frustrating, though, and not as easy as you'd think, because when you're shooting someone, especially when you don't have a silenced weapon on, if you're using an unsilenced weapon like with what I'm doing, and here's a perfect example of the sound whoring. You know what, I heard him, I knew where he was coming from. I use Astro A40s in this case here. My previous headset was the Triton AX Pros, which I do personally like better than the Astros, but that's personal preference. Now, in terms of this, when you're firing your weapon, remember, you can't fire your weapon and just run away and try and get into a better position. Once you fire your weapon, number one, people in the area are going to come after you, and you cannot run really fast. I mean, using Zen style, you just got to walk, so it's like you just got to be on your toes and get ready for friggin' hell to come your way. I do use claymores a lot because, well, number one, I always use claymores, but particularly in this style here, when you're just walking and you're not running anywhere, especially in open areas, you want something behind you, especially if you're moving forward. It's so hard to do it, but you gotta try it out. It's super, super fun. I don't know, there's just something about it. It's kind of calming. When you die, you don't really worry about it, because it's not as intense. When you're running around these games, even if you're winning, it's not an intense feeling, you know what I mean? When you're running it seems to add to the, hurry up, get there, jump there, and get over this crate, and plop through this window. But in this, you're just like taking a stroll through a nice garden in the springtime. I know some of you may not want to do that, but that's more or less what I attribute it to. So as I'm going along here, part of this, in order to do this well, I would say that you have to have some sort of map recognition. And maybe it doesn't. Maybe in the new game, maybe you could start a game and this is a better way for, I guess, I don't know, newbies. I hate using that word, but, people that are new to the game, rather than running around, because a lot of times what will happen is, if you're new to the game and you're running around all over the place, you may actually end up inadvertently running through a very dangerous open area. Look at that, awesome. Love sound whoring for the win! So you can hear everyone. But you may end up inadvertently running through a very volatile area. You know what I mean? Just sprinting around because you're like shooting and running and you're like, oh my god, I gotta get out of here. Meanwhile, you're running through a very bad area. Whereas if you just take the time, walk around, you're gonna see people, just like in this game here, almost every single time, you see people running in front of you because they're moving so fast, it's harder to see everything around you. The speed in which you run can actually take away from what you notice. Whereas you're walking around, you have actually additional time to take in the environment. It looks like a slower moving picture, so when something interrupts that picture, which is, an enemy player, it's easier to spot them. At least I find that. That's what I'm finding with this game here. And when I'm doing this, I'm actually having more fun doing this, and I think I'm doing more consistently well playing this style. Oddly enough, I thought it was going to be incredibly hard, but the very first game that I played using this Zen Master style here, I won the first 3 games, random games. I just plopped in, yeah, granted, I know it's Modern Warfare 2 and maybe they're all over the place, but still, using this style here, not knowing how it's going to sort of fare out, and thinking really that, in all honesty, I thought, okay, I'm going to have to develop some sort of strategy or sort of basic tactics in order to be successful with this technique, but I didn't find that. I found that my knowledge of the maps, my ability to sort of just stay calm and move around very, very cautiously allowed me to actually dominate, and people constantly running in front of you and not having time. Because another thing that you must be aware of when you're running from a sprint, unless you have the perk, which is I think is Sleight of Hand or Sleight of Hand Pro, when you're sprinting, it takes an additional, I don't think it's a second, but it is slower to bring your aim down sights up. But when you're walking, it's a lot faster. So it's not like you have to come out of the sprint and then pull your sights up. You're just constantly ready to fire. And I find also firing from the hip is a lot easier. I find that the shots register, like hit markers, are way better on this than it is when you're sprinting, and that's just natural. When you're running around, you've got to make a quick stop. I mean, obviously some people are really talented at that, particularly quick scopers, but for the most part, if you just walk around, you actually have a tactical advantage over people that are... Look at this guy. He thought he was going to own me. I don't know what he was doing. Like, why wouldn't you have just shot? I mean, that guy could have probably quick scoped me and owned my ass there. But yes, also be aware that I'm going to work really hard on getting you a game where I never stop moving. I just keep walking around and around and around. And partly, I think to do that, since I'm not sprinting, since I'm not running anywhere, you don't really need Ninja. So I may put on Commando. I know it's a bit douchebaggery, but when you're doing this style, you kind of need any advantage that she can get a hold of. And Scavenger is definitely something you want as you walk over. You're going to need a lot of ammo and extra ammo clips. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. That is the Zen Master style. Try it out. It's a lot of fun, bit of a challenge, and it brings a spark back to the game.
Did you like this video? If you did, check out a couple of these. Here at the top on NextGenTactics, we have a Zombies live stream with Spider-Bite, Hypermole, Meatwagon, and myself discussing what is going to come of zombies in the future on Call of Duty, as well as multiple guest appearances from who is listed. On NGT Zombies, we have ZM Survival with Spider-Bite, Hypermole, Meatwagon, and myself, seeing how far we can get. And on the bottom, on the gun shop, Guns is smoking a Cuban this time, telling us about his new Gamers Abroad series to LA. Guys, be sure to click the corresponding thumbnails to watch the video.